Welcome to another exciting session with Edupedia World. Let's turn some pages of history and go through the magnificent past of this glorious country. Yes, friends, in today's session of Know Your Country, we shall take up questions from history of India. Here we go, but before that, based on the answers you give, see where you stand and work up through the ladder. So here we have the first question for the day. Which was the first dam constructed in India? Your options are A. Kodiveri Dam, B. Dhamapur Dam, C. Dholeshwaram Barrage, or D. Kallani Dam. You have 5 seconds to answer. Your time starts now. And the answer is D. Kallani Dam. Now this was constructed by King Karikala Cholan around the 2nd century across the river Kaveri in the Tanjore district of Tamil Nadu. And do you know that this dam is still in use and it is one of the world's oldest dam? The Kodiveri Dam near Satyamangalam on the Bhavani River was built much after that in the year 1125 AD, and that is the second oldest. Alright, so now let's move on to the second question for the day, and that is, name the oldest university in India. And your options are A. Takshila, B. Nalanda, C. Pushpagiri, or D. Vikramshila. Well friends, the answer is A. Takshila. I'm sure you must have heard all the 4 names and even more, as we know that India was a center of learning all throughout. But all of these universities are in ruins now. Although there's an effort to revive the Nalanda University, the one to stand out of these is the Takshila University, which is almost 3,000 years old, going to its origin somewhere around 1000 BC, and it was existing till the 5th century. Its ruins are around 35 kilometers from the present-day city of Rawalpindi in the Punjab province of Pakistan. And these universities produce some of the remarkable students, as students from all across the world came to study here. Some of the notable products of Takshila University are Chanakya and Charaka. Alright, so now let's move on to the next question, and that is, which is the oldest seaport in India? And your options are the Poombuhar or Kaveri Pattinam, the Muzari Port, the Lothal Port, or the Barbarikon Port. And the answer is the Lothal Port. Now this belonged to the Indus Valley Civilization. And once I say the Indus Valley Civilization, you don't need any further explanation, because this is somewhere around 5,000 years old, even more than that, as it was believed to be existing at around 3700 BC. The remains of this were discovered in the year 1954. All the other ports are known to have existed for somewhere around 2500 years back. The Poombuhar or Kaveri Pattinam port was the gateway for the Chola king to conquest territories outside India, whereas the Muzari port was the gateway for the foreign travelers to enter the Malabar region of India, and this is somewhere between the modern city of Kochi and Calicut. Barbarikon is somewhere near the modern day Karachi, and it's known by different names in different era. Let's move on to the next question for the day, and that is, which Indian king had the largest empire? Your options are A. Aurangzeb, B. Ashoka, C. Rajendra Chola, or D. Devapala. And friends, the answer is B. Ashoka. Now we know that Ashoka was one of the greatest emperor which India has produced. This modern king continued the conquest started by his grandfather Chandragupta Maurya and his father Bindusara. Whereas Chandragupta Maurya conquered parts of eastern Persian Empire, Bindusara conquered the Deccan region, and Ashoka continued the conquest of Kalinga, thus making it one of the biggest empires India ever had. And you can estimate from the fact that the present day India is around 3.28 million square kilometers, whereas Ashoka's kingdom was somewhere around 5 million square kilometers. If anyone came close to this, then it was Aurangzeb at its peak in 1707, but he could not go up to the Persian Empire, and thus Ashoka stands out to be the king with the largest empire in India. Alright, so let's move on to the next question for the day. Which of the following is considered the oldest church in India? Your options are St. Thomas Church in Padayur, St. Thomas Mount, Chennai, St. Mary's Church, Thiruvidamkur, or Malayattur Church. And the answer is St. Thomas Church, Padayur, in the Thrissur district of Kerala, which is believed to be established in the year 52 AD by St. Thomas, one of the 12 apostles of Jesus Christ himself. This is considered to be the oldest church as it was part of the 7 churches believed to have been built by St. Thomas himself when he visited the Malabar coast. St. Thomas is believed to have visited first the Sindh region of India, then Malabar, and subsequently to the Coromandel coast, where he is believed to have been killed at the St. Thomas Mount in Chennai. The Malayattur hill, where the Malayattur church is presently located, is on the hills where he prayed, and St. Mary's Church in Thiruvidamkur is also believed to have been built by him. Alright, so now let's move on to the 6th question for the day. In which city was the first municipality established in India? Your options are A. The British capital Calcutta, B. Madras, or as it is called Chennai, C. Bombay or Mumbai, or D. Cochin or Kochi. And friends, the answer is Kochi. Well, the Dutch established the municipality of Fort Kochi way back in the year 1664, and that became the first municipality in the Indian subcontinent. Thereafter, in the year 1666, the Madras Municipal Corporation was established, and then the Calcutta and Mumbai Municipal Corporation by the British. And by the 19th century, almost all the towns in India had experienced some form of municipal governance. Let's march on to the 7th question for the day, and that is, which European power was the first to establish their rule in India? Your options are A. The British, B. The Portuguese, C. The French, or D. The Dutch. Well, the answer is B. The Portuguese. Friends, you must know that there were 5 colonial powers which came to India. They were the British, the Portuguese, the French, the Dutch, and the Danish. The first to come was Vasco da Gama in the year 1498 when he landed on the coast of Calicut. Subsequently, in the year 1502, the Portuguese were able to capture the Cochin area and establish their rule in Cochin in the year 1502. All the other colonial powers came almost 100 years after this, and the French were the last to come in the year 1668. Alright, so now the 8th question for the day, here we have. Which was the first fort constructed by the Europeans on the Indian soil? Your options are A. The Palipuram Fort, B. The Fort Emmanuel, C. Fort Anjadeva, or D. St. Angelo Fort. And the answer is Fort Emmanuel. Well, Fort Emmanuel was constructed by the Portuguese in the year 1503 at the Cochin harbour, which was first constructed out of wood and later stones. But now this remains in ruins as it was gradually destroyed by the Dutch and the British in wars between all the European powers. The oldest existing fort is the Pallipuram Fort at Ernakulam, which was also built by the Portuguese in the year 1503. The Anjadiva Fort on the Anjadiva Island was built in the year 1505, and St. Angelo's Fort at Kannur was also built in the year 1505. Let's move on to the next question, and that is, which Indian city remained the longest occupied territory by the Europeans? Your options are A. Cochin, B. Calicut, C. Goa, or D. Diu. The answer is C. Goa. Although Cochin was the first to be conquered, it was liberated in 1947 because after the Portuguese it went to the Dutch and then the British, whereas Goa remained under the Portuguese right from 1510 when it became its capital till 1961. So for almost 451 years it was under the Portuguese rule, whereas Kochi was under the Portuguese, Dutch and British for 447 years. Diu again was under the Portuguese for 426 years. Now the last question for the day. Here we have. Which of the following was the shortest lived East India Company? Your options are A. The Danish East India Company, B. The French East India Company, C. The Dutch East India Company, or D. The Portuguese East India Company. Well friends, the answer is Portuguese East India Company, which was established in the year 1628 and dismantled in the year 1633. So just for 5 years. All throughout the Portuguese territory in India were governed and the trade conducted by the Portuguese government. The first East India Company to be established was by the British in the year 1600, and the most strongest was the Dutch East India Company, which was established in the year 1602. And do you know that apart from the 5 colonial powers, that is the British, Dutch, Danish, Portuguese and French, there were also Swedish and Austrian East India Company, which conducted trade between India and Europe at some point or the other. But they never came close to ruling the country. Only the 5 European powers, British, the Dutch, the Danish, the Portuguese and the French, managed to rule some territories at different times. Well, that's all we have in this session. Keep watching our videos. We'll soon be doing a video on the European occupation of India. Do tell us what other topics you would want us to include in these sessions. Best wishes. Bye-bye.